meet my new horse. This is Alfredo Dream. He is a 14-year-old Standardbred who last raced a few months ago. Alfredo's my third Standardbred, and I thought it would be fun to take what I've learned from my past two Standardbreds and try to apply that to training Alfredo. And create a training series where I walk you through the steps of taking him from a racehorse to a riding horse. Alfredo's already been here for a couple of days, and one of the first things I noticed about him is that he's incredibly mannerly and very level-headed. I'm told that he trained to race under saddle, so he had been back before I got him, but I'm treating him like he's starting completely from scratch because I just don't know how much he knows or how much he trained or how much he even remembers from that. So I thought I'd go through some of the commonly faced problems, at least that I've had with my Standardbreds, and talk about how I work through them.
I started working with Fredo a few days after he arrived at my farm. He settled in really quickly and seemed up for it, but before I did anything, I did a full body check-in for him where I palpate down his back to ensure he's not sore and just do a quick check of his legs and his hooves. His feet will need a trim before we start any serious work, but otherwise he seems to be happy and in good health. I was told that Fredo trained for racing under saddle. I just don't know how far he got in his training or frankly what that training entailed. So to avoid any unpleasant surprises, I'm proceeding as if he's completely unbacked, with the understanding that he may move pretty quickly in his training if he does know and remember his riding training. I'm following the steps laid out in Dot Morgan's book on retraining the Standardbreds. It's called From Track to Trail, a great read if you're interested in retraining your own Standardbred. And I'm following these steps to the best of my ability. Since I don't have a friend on the ground to help, I'm going to back him in the cross ties where he seems very comfortable. I started out just making sure that he was okay with seeing me towering above him, so I stood on the stool and pat his neck. I could tell he seemed pretty chill with this, but I also wanted to make sure we had no surprises when I got on, so I make sure I take time to tap the saddle and rock the stool to make the noises that I might make when I start actually getting on and just wobble around on accident. Start slowly putting my weight on his back by laying over him and then eventually standing with one foot in the stirrups. When I feel he's good with that and I think it's safe, I'll swing a leg over, sit briefly before dismounting again, and do this a couple of times. Because Fredo's taking it all in stride, I start thinking he might actually remember his riding work or he's just really chill, probably both. So I start thinking I can unclip the cross ties and use my rope reins that I have and just ask him to take a few steps forward. He really does not respond to my gentle nudging to move him forward, and I don't want to overwhelm him by adding too much pressure. So instead of kicking harder or clucking louder, I go and pick up a crop to try to use a language that he understands. So I'm not tapping him with it because I think that might be too much pressure, at least right off the bat. But I do wave it beside him to help him understand that I'm asking for forward. He starts to unstick his feet. He actually steps a little bit backwards at first. But then when I'm praising him for just moving his feet at all, he kind of got it. And then he starts going forward. So I gave him big boy pats and then I'll get off, back him back up, get on again, and try it one more time to end for the night. I had felt that training session that night went so well that the next morning I tacked up and got back on, this time outside in my teeny tiny little dry lot / ring. When I got on, I reviewed the steps from the night before, so I never want to assume that he remembers anything. My goal was just to walk calmly around to see where he was at with his training. He was really good, but I could tell that he was a little bit worried and he just wanted to keep moving. So when I asked him to stop and stand, he would stop and then walk off very shortly after. So I waited for a good moment and ended the ride. My biggest takeaway was that he needed to relax and stand, but that was going to be an effort for another day. So come back for episode 2, where we're going to work through his stopping and standing quietly under saddle. If you want to follow along for the Standardbred Retraining series, be sure to subscribe because we'll be posting videos regularly following Alfredo's progress.